just
Because
get
they
ready
probably are
and just turn
big
it
on this.
Call the meeting to order. Start off with a prayer. Almighty God, we ask for your guidance and direction as we come together to meet. Grant us the strength to manage the challenges ahead and the wisdom to identify these as opportunities as we strive to serve the citizens of Crescent Springs. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Matt Zapp,
Here.
Tom Bergamini, Carter Dickerson.
Here.
Christy Arlinghouse.
Here.
Mike Daughtry.
Here.
Bob Mueller.
Here. Next item is approval of minutes, January the 8th, 2018, council meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the January 8th, 2018 council meeting.
Christie's made the motion. We have a second.
I'll second.
Mike is second. Roll call.
Bob Mueller.
Yes.
Christy Arlinghouse.
Yes.
Mike Daughtry.
Yes.
Matt Zapp,
Yes.
Carter Dickerson.
Yes.
Next is January 22nd, 2018, special meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the January 22nd, 2018 special meeting minutes.
Christie's made the motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Matt has second. Roll
Bob
call.
Mueller.
Yes.
Mike Daughtry.
Yes.
Christy Arlinghouse.
Yes.
Carter Dickerson.
Yes.
Matt Zapp.
Yes.
Next item is fire authority report. Mike?
I believe I announced at the caucus, and maybe the last council meeting, I forget, the ambulance that we're purchasing will be in right around July 1. The budget should be to the city after the next fire authority meeting, which is next Monday. A couple last minute things to work out, and we'll have that to the cities. As some of you may have seen on various Facebook sites, the fish fry this year will not happen. There will be no fish fries at the firehouse this year. It's just a matter of getting people to come and volunteer and help out. So there'll be no fish fries, unfortunately.
How long
Was
was that
that,
going on?
how long was that running?
Yeah.
I want to say it was 50 years.
Wow.
I've been involved 40 years. Duty and I were just talking about that, and I know it was before me. So
It started down at the old
the old
fire.
firehouse, yeah. So, maybe 50 years plus. And the other thing is just kind of for the back of everybody's mind kind of a thing. Talked to the chief today, and there is a major expansion possibility back in Madonna Manor. Hundreds of units, total units between apartments and cottages, and if that does go through, that could put a strain on our resources, unlike the sanctuary that is possibly going through, because that, in theory, is going to be a bit younger people. This is going to be a bit more senior.
55 and over.
History says we get more runs out of the elderly. So it could be something a year or two from now we're going to have to look at possibly putting a second paramedic on the second ambulance full time.
And it's spearheaded by Catholic Health Initiatives.
So
And they
just
have the, I'm assuming they have the land and property back there to.
They're gonna put big condos, houses, then they're gonna have a development where it's like 55 and over, then they're gonna have little assisted cottages like Madonna Manor had.
so like unassisted living, then assisted
Yeah.
living, and then hospice. So that basically you can come, from what I understand, you can come there at some point in your life and never leave the facility at some stage.
Yeah.
step on a car.
Yeah, I wasn't going there, Lou, but yes.
They're gonna have walking trails that are big enough so that people in their little scooters that are old can go fooling around. Recreational center for the elderly.
So
Bingo,
so nothing-
no doubt played.
So nothing imminent on that, but it is something
Yeah.
for a possible concern in the future.
That whole area is just gonna, boom.
Yeah. That's all I have.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Finance report, Matt?
Still too early in the month to give you a January report. April did ship me some early numbers that came through, but it was a little too early in February to produce those. There were like a handful of revenue items that had come through for the February. So when I have the final January report, I will share that with everyone. Probably at the caucus meeting, we'll go through the numbers as we normally do. I think that's all I have.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Public Works, Dewey.
Our snow removal has been good. We're good on salt. The ice storm the other day, we had one of the pickup trucks, they damaged the door on it. I'm in the process of getting that repaired. Other than that, everything went fine. We went back to take care of Anderson, Romney Crescent Springs Road for the county. The state was doing that, but evidently they weren't doing a good job. They had a lot of complaints. The county has furnished us with 50 tons of salt. If I need more, I'll call them. Next year, we'll have to sit down with them and negotiate the contract again, because we only took care of a couple of them, they cut the price on it, so that'll be taken care of when Rip gets back. The state notified us we had to install 2 weight limit signs on a small bridge on Romney Crescent Springs Road by St. John's. It belongs to us. We've already put those up, and I've notified the guy from the state that they've been put up. He's going to go down and check them. We've only went through about 100 ton of salt, so we're good on salt. And that's about all I got.
What is the weight limit?
19 ton on that bridge, that's what they gave us.
How much is the fire truck?
Sitting here, I don't know that answer, but I'll make the chief aware.
All right.
Okay, thanks, Dewey. Okay. Well, Rip isn't here. Bob, you have anything that you wanted to discuss?
Just the Airbnb short-term rentals thing. I've circulated some materials from Erlanger and Taylor Mill. One of them provided further attack of information from a national corporation that helps cities and counties try to manage Airbnbs and short-term rentals from an inspection and revenue management standpoint. And not so much to recommend anything, but to just see. We've sort of taken a hands-off approach up to this point, where it's like, we think if somebody wanted to come in, our ordinance may permit it, but we've not taken any affirmative action to regulate it or set up any sort of mechanism to collect fees if we so choose. So it was just food for thought, not even just for final discussion tonight, but just, do we want to take a position, or do we still want to just shut up?
I think at this point, there may already be some here, there's no regulations one way or the other, so.
It's a decision whether we want to invest in trying to collect fees to
Right.
permit somebody to do it, to chase down the tax revenue, whatever that may be, or not, or, other cities have taken the stance, we're gonna ban these things altogether.
I'd like to see us ban them,
So,
myself. That's my opinion. I have a friend that lives in Edgewood, and the home next to her is rented out to 5 veterans. And there's probably not a month that goes by that the police aren't there because there's a DUI, there's something, a scuffle within the house. Their attic's rented out, 3 bedrooms on the main floor and a bedroom in the basement's rented out. And you don't know who you have next door to you. And my friend's got a granddaughter, and there's these guys that get drunk, and she's afraid to let her granddaughter out in her yard. So I think we may want to, as a council, discuss the safety issues You know, I know people have a right to do what they want with their property, but we got zoning restrictions. That house over in Edgewood, as far as I'm concerned, is a boarding house. And I don't think we want to get in things like that, and it's by the month rental. Just some food for thought for the future, that's my opinion.
My concern is enforcement. We're gonna actually have to have neighbors turn their neighbors in.
Right.
And, because I don't know that we have, the staff within the city or PDS or the police department to be driving around looking for, which we may never know.
Right.
But the police would know, like this situation, there's 5 tenants in this house. And the city of Edgewood chooses just to ignore it. Because maybe they don't have any ordinance or whatever. I just wanted to throw it out there.
Yeah, my only challenge would be, or concern with that would be, anybody can own that house. So, I mean, those veterans could own the house and still have the same problem. So just legislating against the Airbnb, I don't think solves the problem, because I know I've had neighbors who I'm not excited about, and they own the house. So I don't know if that solves it. I understand the concern, I just don't know if it solves it.
It's
Yeah.
the owner is a non-resident. Does not
We've
live
had
in
that in
the
our
house.
neighborhood as well.
You're talking about short-term rentals, though.
Potentially, could be
Short-term
short or
rental.
long.
Airbnbs are short-term
I
rentals,
don't disagree.
specifically 30 days or less.
Yeah, how long have they been in that place?
Well, the people come and go.
Oh.
I mean, one guy, from what I understand, has lived in the attic for a year.
For the folks that are not so in favor of them, do you lean more towards banning altogether? Or would you invest to regulate, sort of as a
I'd
go-between between banning and fully just letting it run open?
I'd like to see like a time limit. I know that, you know, Airbnb
enforce
is the
that.
way to go, and I know a lot of people think they're gonna make some money doing it and all that, but I don't know if we can completely ban it, but we certainly could make some restrictions as far as the time frame that the temporary tenants would be there. There's places down in Covington that you can rent for a night.
The Ellesmere ordinance, I took a look at it, it was addressed short-term rentals, but what they also did was licensing facilities. I think Villa Hills has done that, and that has an inspection component to it. I know PDS has been looking at this because they've been asked to look at it. I guess it would beg the question, if there's any enforcement or inspection, it probably goes to the Code Enforcement Board. And we know how long that sometimes takes. But one other thing that Ellesmere did, which is probably not recommended here because it was tried once before, they adopted the Uniform Landlord-Tenant Act. I can tell you about 20-some odd years ago, that was brought up here. It was not well received, so.
Would you see PDS as sort of a regional resource so that if a city said, we want to ban it and so we want to see the model ordinance, we want to regulate it a little bit, so can you show us the model regulation ordinance?
I don't think PDS has that expertise yet.
You don't think PDS what?
Has that expertise yet.
I think that, like the building that I'm talking about, the home that I'm talking about, when you've got somebody in the attic and you've got 5 people in there, I'd be willing to bet that attic does not have a smoke alarm. And I think that would be ripe for a tragedy to occur.
One of the other things on Airbnbs that, I don't want to say Airbnb, short-term rentals, STRs, that it's a factor, do you have owner occupied or not? Does the host have to be there when there's somebody there? And also with respect to the whatever Erling or Edgewood supplied, Ellesmere supplied, what you supplied, that was, that group, they've been promoting seminars through cities. And obviously they're in the business of monitoring this, so they do a good job. And in some cities, the larger cities in the United States have hired them because this can be a compliance nightmare. Just trying to keep track. I mean, everybody thinks Airbnb is the only one. It's not the only one. There's probably about 200 different websites you can go to do this. So I think if it's going to be done, it should be done on more one city basis. And the underlying factor is if somebody's making money, which is a business, being operated out of their house. So that's where the city's question, do we generate the revenue if we have to have some kind of compliance or licensing factor in there? So I'm not in favor or against it, I'm just trying to still sort it out.
Mike, do you feel like we invite, I don't want to say trouble, by inaction, but are we more at risk by doing nothing than doing something?
Well, I've made a couple notes of questions to ask others that I don't necessarily know the answers to. And, there's a difference between doing a casual, I think, night or so, or someone may rent out their house for a specific event, for example, as opposed to doing it on a regular basis. For example, if I could move the analogy differently, if you sell your car to your neighbor, you don't have to pay. He doesn't. Well, they do. There is a mechanism between being a dealer and doing a casual sale under state law. I think you do still pay tax when you go down to the clerk's office, but you need to be licensed as a dealer if you have so many sales in a year.
Okay.
For example, as opposed to, and if I bring it back into this conversation, we make a differentiation between, an occasional rental as opposed to one in the regular course of business, and which to me raises a question: would they be subject to the hotel tax, for example?
Right.
And those associated taxes that go with that. We do not have a hotel in Crescent Springs, to the best of my knowledge, and I don't think we have any ordinance that addresses it as a result. And that would probably be something we would have to visit, I would suggest.
The only ordinance that we do have, in '96, we passed an ordinance that exempted owner-occupied rentals. So for instance, if you had an apartment building, we don't have four families, but if you had a four-family apartment building and you lived in that building, that was exempt. But times have changed. The whole shared economy thing is really sort of making a lot of folks trying to figure out, what do we do?
I think most of the time it's going to be a short-term thing, like when there's some event in town and it brings a lot of people where they're going to rent it for the weekend.
I'm gonna
That
rent
sounds
my
like-
house
that
when
sounds-
we have the Super Bowl next year.
Right.
Okay,
But
but
it's-
that sounds like Edgewood sounds like a unusual situation.
It's very unusual.
But a Super Bowl would be a good example. Somebody decided to rent out the house next to Lou's house to a fraternity for Super Bowl party. I probably expect you wouldn't be so happy about that, because first of all, where are you gonna put all these people as far as parking?
Well, remember a couple years ago, there was the World Equestrian
Yes.
competition down at the Horse Park, and then
Right.
somebody came to council and talked about it, and that some of these delegations would be looking for houses to rent even in this area, because the Lexington area was so saturated already. And
Well, when you think about
we
it,
could have rented our houses out and made maybe a couple $1,000
that happened
for
in
2 weeks.
Atlanta during the
Yeah.
'96 Olympics.
Yeah, I
And,
went.
that's a short-term, limited event rental. But when you go beyond that, it really can become a problem. And the question is how big of a problem would it be? Or can it be? That's something we just don't know. I can tell you Lexington and Louisville has already gotten them. I think Owensboro is
yeah.
contemplating it.
I don't think there's any crisis lending, it's more maybe just feet feed comments to the mayor about, are you thinking we should do something?
Well,
before we
you
contend?
know, that might be something where it may be interesting to take a poll of residents and say, what do you think? Because, I mean, the other thought is if we're gonna allow them, do we wanna allow them the entire city or just specific sections of the city? So,
Thanks.
Okay. All right, next item, old business, second reading of ordinance 2018-2.
Ordinance number 2018-2, an ordinance of the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky approving map amendment to the Crescent Springs zoning code, adding several light industrial uses to the permitted uses within the IP1 Industrial Park 1 zone, adding outdoor self-storage units as an accessory use to a warehousing and wholesaling establishment, along with development controls and updates to the outdoor storage industrial performance standards of the IP1 zone, and adding a new zoning classification, the MC Mixed Commercial Zone, to Article 10 zones, along with necessary cross-references to the other sections of the zoning code permitting a variety of commercial, retail, service, and office uses within the organized development. Whereas the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky engaged with Planning and Development Services of Kenton County, PDS, to draft text amendments to the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky zoning code to create a new zone known as a MC Mixed Commercial Zone, as well as drafting a map amendment to the Crescent Springs zoning code that, one, adds several light industrial uses to the list of permitted uses within the IP1 Industrial Park 1 zone. Two, adding outdoor self-storage units as an accessory use to warehousing and wholesaling establishment, along with the development, controls, and updates to the outdoor storage industrial performance standards of the IP1 zone. And whereas the Kent County Municipal Planning and Zoning Commission conducted a public hearing on January 4th, 2018, and said commission recommended the map amendment to the zoning code of the City of Crescent Springs with regard to the modification to certain definitions in the Crescent Springs zoning code, which adopted the amendments to the IP1 Industrial Park 1 zone as set forth above, and further added a new zone classification, the MC Mixed Commercial Zone, along with necessary cross-references to other sections of the zoning code to permit a variety of commercial, retail, service, and office uses within an organized development with certain conditions, consolidating zones LHS, PO, R-1G, and NSC zones in the Gateway Small Area Study. And whereas the legislative body of the City of Crescent Springs, having duly considered the record, hereby adopts the recommendation of the Kenton County Municipal Planning and Zoning Commission with regard to the amendments to the IP-1 zone and the adoption of a new zoning classification, the MC Mixed Commercial Zone. Now therefore be it ordained by the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, as follows. That Section 1, that the map amendment to the zoning code of the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky is hereby amended as set forth by PDS in BOA 1710-0002 and incorporated herein by reference. Section 2, all ordinances or parts of the ordinances in conflict herein, or to the extent of any such conflict, if any, are hereby repealed.
Okay. Any discussion on ordinance 2018-2? If not, I'll call for a motion.
I'll make a motion, we adopt the ordinance 2018-2 as
Bob's made the motion. We have a second.
No second.
Mike second. Roll call.
Carter Dickerson,
Yes.
Tom Bergamini,
yes.
Bob Mueller,
yes.
Matt Zak,
Yes.
Mike Daughtery,
Yes.
Christie Arlinghouse.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Next item is new business. Reading of resolution 2018-1 declaring Crescent Springs as a Kentucky Veterans Hall of Fame city.
Resolution number 2018-1, a resolution of the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, authorizing the mayor to make application to make the city of Crescent Springs a Kentucky Veterans Hall of Fame city. Whereas the city of Crescent Springs, Kentucky has received an invitation to make application to become a Veterans Hall of Fame city, and whereas the requirements to become a Kentucky Veterans Hall of Fame city includes submitting the name of one military person, deceased or alive, from the city to be nominated into the Kentucky Veterans Hall of Fame. And whereas the mission of a Kentucky Veterans Hall of Fame is to promote Kentucky veterans and families and honor those veterans who continue to serve above and beyond the call of duty. And whereas it is in the best interest of the city to honor veterans from the city, now therefore be it resolved by the mayor of the city of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, that the mayor is hereby authorized, city council of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, that the mayor is hereby authorized to make application on behalf of the city of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, to become a Kentucky Veterans Hall of Fame city.
Okay, any discussion?
Have you thought through what that nomination process would look like?
Yeah, we got, there's application forms that we'll put out in the newsletter. Anybody that wants to nominate somebody, nominations will be open until, I think, middle of April. As many people can be nominated as want to. Only one will be selected.
By the city that would be submitted to this organization?
Well, yeah, it won't be selected by the city.
Oh, okay.
It'll be selected by the Kentucky Veterans Hall of Fame Board.
So hypothetically, if we had 37 nominations submitted to us, we'd send all 37 to this organization and
Right.
maybe pick one.
Right.
Okay.
And so, is there like an induction ceremony?
Yes.
Is there
Yes.
like a monument or a plaque or?
Well, there's not a monument. They have inductions, I believe it's in Frankfurt, and they have, yearly events.
Okay.
There's other activities. There's a information sheet that anybody that wants to nominate someone, it tells you, what you
Okay.
need to do that. Okay. If there's no
I'll make
more,
a motion to approve the resolution 2018-1.
Matt's made the motion,
I'll second.
Christie second,
Tom Bergamini,
roll call.
Tom Bergamini,
Yes.
Carter Dickerson,
Yes.
Christy Arlinghouse.
Yes.
Mike Daughtery,
Yes.
Matt Zak,
Yes.
Bob Mueller.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Okay. Any other new business anybody wants to bring up?
I'll just bring this up. April had circulated this notice regarding the proposed development. It's on March 1st is the hearing for it. The stage 1 plan has been submitted. I've got a copy of it. We probably ought to discuss this more at the caucus meeting, but one thought of it is what, if any, questions we have or concerns we have. So I do have that. The only other question I have, this relates more to old business. Has the deed for the donated land been recorded yet?
No. Partly because of my schedule.
Because I noticed this weekend the for sale signs are still up.
Okay, well, there's an affidavit that they need to sign, basically saying there's no encumbrances or
Right.
easements, and we are in agreement on it. I just got to get the affidavit to their council. I think it should happen the next couple of weeks.
I don't think it's still for sale, it's just that
No,
they
the signs are
they
still.
haven't just went up
No,
and
I
took the
mean,
sign.
realtors have a tendency to leave signs up.
Yeah.
But,
So no, but the deed hasn't been.
So is it up for sale by owner or is there a
You know,
realtor?
Just by owner.
So is
No,
the
it's a
realtor
realtor.
gonna get a commission?
no, not.
Not from
not-
us.
Well, I
You
mean-
know, that's not our issue.
6 or
I know, but
7% of
think
zero.
about it.
Yeah.
The commission zero
That's,
is not
yeah,
much.
that's, that's not our issue,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
there are there's two separate signs up. And, but there are 3 parcels?
They'll take a
There are
while.
3 parcels.
Yeah. There's a realtor sign, a private property keep out sign, and then another realtor sign.
I mean, there's no liens or encumbrances, it's just, and there is utilities, of course. There's a power line goes right through the middle of one of those lots, I believe, on top of it.
Oh, for God's sake.
But I just want him to affirmatively state that he hasn't encumbered the property, or he hasn't caused any easements.
Did we do a title report?
I haven't done
Buy
that.
that property.
And they're willing to do that. Paul Markgraf is their counsel, and he and I, we're in agreement. I just got to get the paperwork.
All right.
So are there trees under those power lines?
Yep.
I suspect.
There used to be a lot. Christie, there
I
used to be
think
a
I'll
lot.
call up.
There used to be a lot more.
Yeah,
But they trimmed down.
they're not real tall though,
Okay.
at least I don't
I
think.
just want to get back to Duke.
Okay. 2019 is, the city office is closed for President's Day. 219, I'm sorry, not 2019. Yeah. 221 is the next finance meeting, and 226 is our next caucus meeting. Other than that,
Is this the last one? The last
Oh,
one?
yes.
oh yes. You guys come back for more from last time, huh?
We're still gonna give you the exam.
You're not done with the project yet, or different kids this time?
Some of us are saying that.
Okay.
we're all on the same budget.
So what have you learned so far?
Democracy is boring.
Are any of you close to 18 and could run this coming election?
They have to be residents.
I see the chief from Villa Hills is here. Anything from you,
Unless you
chief?
have questions of me, I have nothing right now to report. If you have questions.
He's just observing.
Okay.
I will say that the police agreement has been mailed to Frankfurt, so we hopefully will have it back signed within a week, 10 days, hopefully. And as soon as we get it back, I'll record it and I'll circulate signed copies.
Thank you.
Okay, with that said,
Motion to adjourn.
Mike's made a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.
So